Discipline is one of the most fundamental qualities for anyone who wants to achieve great goals. It doesn't appear magically or instantly. Instead, discipline is something we develop over time through consistent actions and well-applied strategies. Often, the difficulty in maintaining discipline lies in not knowing where to start or even in wanting results too quickly. But the real key to success is turning discipline into a daily habit that remains strong even in the face of obstacles. One of the biggest challenges we face when trying to create new habits is the internal resistance we feel. Sometimes, the idea of starting something new can seem overwhelming, especially when we try to take big steps all at once. The good news is that we can start small, with simple actions, and gradually turn these small victories into long-term achievements. The secret lies in adopting the concept of the minimum necessary. Instead of overwhelming yourself with a huge list of tasks, start with something simple. For example, instead of forcing yourself to study for hours on end, begin with just 5 minutes. This is a strategy that creates a powerful psychological shift. You establish a small habit that, when repeated, naturally expands. And don't think this only applies to studying. In physical exercise, for example, many people feel intimidated by the idea that they need to work out for a full hour every day, when, in reality, 15 minutes of exercise can be more than enough to start building a routine. By reducing the mental burden of having to do something big, you take a simple step toward your goal. Over time, those 15 minutes turn into 30, 40, and eventually a solid routine. However, we cannot deny that discipline does not arise in isolation. It is closely linked to the context of our lives and our mindset. Many times, we try to create new habits or routines without understanding the psychological conditions that influence our decisions. One of the biggest enemies of discipline is comparison. When we see other people achieving great results, our instinct may be to compare ourselves to them. This often generates frustration. But the truth is that each person is on a unique journey. The learning pace and circumstances of each individual are different. Instead of looking at others, the key is to focus on your own progress, no matter how small it may be at first. And of course, there are moments when our internal motivation is divided. What I mean by this is that we have a constant battle between what we can call our higher self and our lower self. The higher self seeks the best for our long-term well-being, such as maintaining good health or working toward bigger goals. Meanwhile, the lower self is concerned with immediate gratification, like eating something delicious, relaxing by watching a movie, or playing that video game for just one more hour. Both sides have their reasons, but the battle between them can be exhausting. Throughout my own journey, I learned that the key is not to eliminate the lower self, but to find a balance. Instead of simply repressing this side that seeks immediate pleasure, the ideal approach is to negotiate with it and often reach a middle ground. For example, when I feel like playing a game, I can negotiate with myself. Instead of completely giving in to the temptation to keep playing, I accept the idea of turning off the console but reward myself by watching videos about the game while doing other activities, like brushing my teeth. This strategy not only helps me meet my goal of taking a break, but also allows me to enjoy the part of the game that I like. That way, both my higher and lower selves come out satisfied. This balance is a crucial point in the process of developing discipline. It's not about being ruthless with yourself, but about finding ways to allow the different parts of your personality to coexist harmoniously. What happens to many people is that when they try to be excessively rigid, they end up getting frustrated quickly. An example of this is the attempt to follow a very strict routine, like forcing yourself to work out for an hour every day. This can become a burden, especially if unforeseen events or obstacles arise. The big insight is learning to be flexible. Flexibility is just as important as discipline itself, and sometimes it is what helps us stay on track even when circumstances are not ideal. Robert Greene, author of The 48 Laws of Power, talks about the importance of maintaining flexibility. He teaches that by following an overly rigid routine, we leave ourselves vulnerable to opposition knocking us down. The secret is to remain adaptable, always ready to adjust plans without losing focus on the final goal. There is, however, a risk that this flexibility will be mistaken for procrastination or laziness. That's why maintaining focus is essential. Finding this balance can be challenging. One helpful approach is applying the concept of the least possible effort, as suggested by Matt D'Avella, in which he commits to training at least 3 times a week but allows himself the freedom not to do long sessions if his schedule doesn't allow it. The key here is not letting not having enough time be an excuse to quit entirely. For him, what matters is never missing more than one consecutive day. If he can't work out one day, he does everything possible to exercise the next. This type of mindset is fundamental for staying disciplined. In my case, I created a personal rule. Whenever possible, I do at least 1 hour of deep work before distracting myself with superficial tasks, like responding to messages. This simple rule helps me stay focused on what truly matters, even if my workload is heavy for the day. And, of course, flexibility within a routine is a crucial pillar for the success of any discipline. For example, I adopted the minimum goals system. The idea is that if I can't reach the main goal, I at least do the bare minimum to maintain consistency. For example, if I can't train for an hour, I train for 15 minutes. That still counts as progress. By maintaining these minimum goals, discipline becomes more sustainable, and the sense of accomplishment remains, which motivates us to continue. Another important factor is avoiding the constant search for new methods or systems. Many times, we become so obsessed with finding the perfect tool that we forget to execute what we already know. Ryan Holiday, a very successful writer, for example, has been using the same note-taking system for years. He acknowledges that there might be better methods out there, but he prefers to stick with what already works because consistency is more important than the endless pursuit of perfection. In practice, persistence is the key to success. When we dedicate ourselves consistently to something for many years without giving up, there's no way we won't achieve some level of success. This applies to both big goals and daily actions that, when accumulated, become significant achievements. As Seneca said, tranquility comes from staying focused on the path we choose and not being distracted by the infinite alternatives that arise along the journey. Ultimately, true discipline comes from a daily commitment to the process, not from an obsession with perfection. It's necessary to accept that we will fail sometimes, but what matters is not giving up and always returning to the path. Success is not guaranteed by sheer willpower alone, but by the ability to keep going even when circumstances seem difficult. By applying these principles in your daily life, you will see that discipline gradually becomes a natural skill, allowing you to achieve great accomplishments and transform your life in a lasting way. Remember, success is not about perfection but about consistency. If you do a little each day with discipline, you will reach your goals. Don't give up. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, take this moment to click subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. We're waiting for you in the next one.